excited to be bringing the 9th installment of our current series, Let's Talk Growth. It has been so much fun. I hope it's been encouraging to you, and I hope that it's been a blessing. We have been talking about certain things that help us grow as Christians. And I hope that you've been able to apply some of these things. And if you've learned anything new, that you've been able to also apply it to your life and in this current COVID season. And so today we're going to talk about membership. And yes, I'm talking about church membership. But I want to challenge your thinking a little bit today, because I know right away your mind goes to, okay, Mikey, yeah, I know what you're going to say, that I need to be in church every Sunday. And kind of. But what I really want to talk about is just belonging to a community of faith, belonging to a church, belonging to a local church. It is so important to our growth that we belong to a local church. And the problem is, if you say, yes, I need to be in church every Sunday, that can become something that can be legalistic. That can become something that is robotic, and it can be our routine. And then it kind of can lose its meaning if that's all you look at. Whereas what I want to talk about today is belonging. Membership meaning belonging to a local church and being part and partaking in what that church looks like. Not just being a churchgoer every Sunday, not just being, or maybe during this season, it's not just being a sermon listener every Sunday, because we're watching our pastors on Sundays only on our screens, right? We don't have church services right now. What we need to be doing is applying what we're learning and actually partake in what is the church and being part of it in fellowship. And I know that fellowship right now also in COVID season looks really, really different. But it's connecting in the ways that we can. And I want to read really quick. One of my favorite passages in the New Testament is in Acts chapter 2. And it talks about what that looked like, the early church, the first church, what that community of believers looked like. And it's so beautiful, you guys. And so I'm going to read, it's a few verses. It's chapter 2, verse 42 in the book of Acts. And it says, "And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all, as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes," okay? "They received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved." I want you to read that on your own time. I just think that's beautiful. I love how it talks about the temple and home, that their fellowship was not just in the temple, because right now we can't be in those four walls of the church, but it was in their homes as well. They were not only temple goers, but they brought what the fellowship, they brought it home, and they spent time together in each other's homes, and there wasn't a need among them because they took care of each other. And that is such a beautiful part of what the church should look like and what the church should be like. And a pastor can't create that by himself. He needs that everybody who is part of their church needs to have that desire, that common desire, and be part of creating that. Today, I want to encourage you to kind of think about what has your relationship with the local church been like up to this point in your life? Have you been just a Sunday goer, or have you really breathed in all that it means to be a part of your local church? What are the things that scare you about that question? And because sometimes we could have had hurt in church. Sometimes we could have been disappointed by leaders in our church or other people when we expected much more from them, because sometimes we think spiritual leaders or other people that are part of our church should be perfect and should act a certain way, and when they don't, we feel like we feel disappointed, like they've been maybe hypocrites or whatnot, and then that can make us feel like, I don't want to partake in this community. But we need community to grow, you guys. And just like you're not perfect and I'm not perfect, there is no church, there is no community that is perfect. But we can come together in all our perfections, and we can grow, and we can learn from each other, and we can ask for forgiveness, and we can be kind of like last week we talked about how iron sharpens iron. Well, I believe in a local church community when we're part of a community of faith and we're actually being partakers and not just taking away and judging and pointing a finger and being criticizing of what is going on in our local church, but actually contributing and participating. See, I can be a churchgoer and I can go to church and I can say I'm a member of a church, but I could also do that, but not actually participate in what the church is. Maybe I'm not serving, maybe I'm not an active participant. I just sit back and cross my arms and then am I actually trying? I can't get anything out of my local church if I'm not going to participate, if I'm not going to come alongside. And so that's what I want to talk about today. Is I want to encourage you and challenge you to kind of think outside of yourself and what your concept of church has been up to this point, and kind of think critically of what you have given to the community of faith that you belong to. And if you haven't given much, if you haven't really participated, then I want to ask you to be slow to criticize, to be slow to be offended, because it takes a lot to create a community of faith. I think the what we just read in Acts, they had to live together, and I'm sure that they had differences. I'm sure that there could have been things that were said that weren't meant and had to be asked. Forgiveness had to be requested and asked for, but they maintained that unity. And something that I wanted to share with you is this. For example, there's a question out there that I hear often is, I'm a Christian, do I have to go to church? Or a lot of Christians can say, I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church. And that is as possible as these next scenarios. A student who doesn't go to school, okay? A bee that doesn't have a hive, a football player that doesn't have a team, a teacher that doesn't have a classroom, an author that doesn't have readers, a businessman on a deserted island, a salesman without clients. Do you see how it's possible to be those things? But are you effective? Are you an effective businessman if you live on a deserted island? Maybe if you have Wi-Fi connection and everything you need, possibly. Are you an effective football player if you don't have a team? Can you play football by yourself? Are you an effective student if you don't go to class? And so, yeah, sure, you can be a Christian and not go to church, and you can believe in all of those things. I get it. But that iron that sharpens iron we've talked about, if I'm gonna grow, I don't need the four walls of the church to profess my faith and to evangelize and share the love of God. And that oftentimes is an argument that people use for not going to church. I can do all those things without the church. But I don't know, I could be totally wrong. I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I don't know of an example of somebody who has been an effective minister that doesn't have a community of faith surrounding them. or who has been an effective evangelizer in their workplace without the connection to the church. I guess it's possible because you can have a connection with God without those four walls. And we've proven this during our COVID season right now. But I have grown so much because of my fellowship and living with and doing life with other people that have the same belief as me, who have been able to challenge me and who have been able to maybe correct me, who've been able to lift me up when I've been down. And I just want to encourage you to change your mind of thinking today regarding church. And I want to encourage you that even though, especially right now that we are in this COVID season and we're not actually in our church building, I want to encourage you to think about ways that you can contribute to your community of faith. Reach out to your leaders and take action, take part of what's going on in your church. And if there's not a lot going on and you have ideas, share them. I want to encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and share them and reach out to your leaders and tell them the things that you feel like maybe people your age need. And in that way, you can be a part of building the community of faith where you are. And so I hope that encouraged you today. I already zipped up my Bible here, but I wanted to share one more verse with you in Hebrews 10. And it's a pretty common verse, but let me just open it here. Our goal as Christians is to, for me, I think, I love that picture of what we saw in Acts 2. And in Hebrews, the author of Hebrews in chapter 10, I'm going to read verse 23 and on. It says, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." So it's talking about as you see the end times drawing near. That meeting together and that fellowshipping together is so important for us, because in doing so, we can, like I said, we can lift up somebody who is down. We can challenge somebody who is maybe taking steps in the wrong direction, or maybe their thinking has kind of gone backwards. We can encourage somebody to love and we can also encourage somebody to serve, because we talked about serving, right? And in meeting, in having this fellowship, in being part of a community of faith, you can encourage somebody or be encouraged. And it can help you in your seasons of life. It's a place where you find those friendships that we were talking about last week. And it's a place where we can serve, like we talked about a few weeks ago. So the whole being part of a church is really important for our growth. So I hope that you've been able to process some of these things, and I hope that you can this week kind of reflect on what church has meant for you and how maybe you've been a creator of maybe negative thinking regarding the church, and how can you change that for yourself and for people around you, for friends. Because I think as a church, we, for this new generation coming up, it's almost like people think that they don't need church, and it's become kind of irrelevant. And it's so important that we don't let that happen, and that we continue to be light and extensions of our church wherever we are, to show that we're genuine human beings just like everybody else, but we belong to something that's bigger than us, and that helps us grow. So take care, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.